All right, welcome everyone to the McCandless Town Council meeting for October 28th. The meeting is called to order at 7:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Few announcements. The Shining Star Gala will be held November 9th at the Chadwick. Tickets are available for purchase at the town website. Winterfest will take place Saturday, December 7th at McCandless Town Hall, and that's from 4 to 7 p.m. Another note is the town received more than $225,000 in local share account grant funding from the state. Of this funding, $166,000 will repair bridges along Blazer Drive, Minot Road, and Old Perry Highway. Those repairs will include crack sealing, guide rail repairs, vegetation and sediment removal, and delamination repairs. The town also received $60,485 to help purchases new police vehicles. And McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority was awarded $200,000 to purchase a new ambulance. We'd like to thank all of our state representatives for helping us with that grant funding. Are there any other announcements from anyone else on council? Okay. At this time, we will accept public comment on agenda items only. Please come forward and state your name and address. There being none.
We did receive one public comment today via letter dropped off at the office from Miss Ellen Wright. She just had a variety of questions about 7A, the engineer's report, and we will handle those with a letter return from administration.
At this time, then we will move on from public comment. The previous meeting minutes from October 14th were emailed to council.
I make a motion to approve the meeting of town council up from October 14th, 2024.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Arlen. Is there any discussion or any changes? No discussion, no changes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll turn it over to committees. Mr. Casey, please run us through the Administration and Finance Committee.
Okay, hopefully everybody had an opportunity to review the checklisting number 9. Does anybody have any questions? And I'd like to make a motion to approve checklisting number 9 dated September 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024, totaling $1,440,690.89 is submitted to each member of council and posted on the bulletin board and town website.
Second.
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is the review of the financial summary and dashboard. Ms. Greathouse.
Good evening, council. You received the financial dashboard and monthly report in your packet. There have been no changes to that since Friday. Does anyone have any questions? We are running consistent with revenues from prior year as a percentage of budget. Same with expenditures. We did receive a large real estate transfer tax in September. So that is performing ahead of schedule. However, I feel we're going to meet budget for 2024 with no problems. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Greathouse.
Thank you.
Now the junior council members report. I don't see anybody here, but the report was in her packet. Next, liaison reports. I'll turn it liaison reports. I'll turn it over to Doug Arlen.
McCandless Industrial Development Authority, there was no meeting and none scheduled.
And Mr. Singer for the North Hills Council of Governments.
Meeting notes were in your packets. I will say that the SRT team, which is the special response team, which consists of the 17 municipalities for the police departments, were successful in gaining a vehicle grant to replace their SRT vehicle in the amount of $401,736. Again, thank you to our local state representatives for that.
You see about it, new tires too.
Yes, that was for one of the other vehicles. Correct.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on Administration and Finance Committee items? Then I will turn it over to Mr. Arlo.
Planning and zoning committee, staff reports, RJ.
Good evening. A quick one on the paper today. We just had one application at the planning commission that was for the Euler lot consolidation plan. This one is gonna look a little weird in your packets when it does make it to council. We're waiting on some revisions, to make sure that the symbology is clear, so we know exactly what we're approving without somebody telling us what we approved, because we understand the intent of the plan, but it needs some tweaks in symbology anyway. Even so, this one's a bit odd in that we have several platted lots in this gentleman's property that were not separated into different tax parcels. That is a legal way that you can have platted lots in the state of Pennsylvania. We just almost never see it. So I've confirmed with the county that, we can proceed as normal with subdividing off one of these lots in this. There's like 6 of them in one single tax parcel. So exactly how we represent that on the agenda and the materials, I'm kind of going to have to try to figure that out, because we usually attach parcel numbers to things and there's not quite a unique one for some of these, but good news is it's a very basic plan. This gentleman just has some property. There's a few houses on Bellcrest and quite a bit of vacant land in the back, and he wants to move the vacant land over into his main lot on Ridge Avenue so that he can build a big old garage, which everybody seems to be really into lately. So you will probably see that on next month's agenda. Like I said, just tweaking, some symbology before we're ready to put it on for town council approval. But that was all that we did at the planning commission. And this upcoming meeting in November, which by the way is moved to November 12th, because we are a polling place for election day. Town hall is closed, so we bumped the meeting to the following Tuesday. It will also be very brief. We just have a mortgage subdivision for one of the townhome buildings in McCandless Square down the road. So a couple easy planning commission months. You will see on your agenda later, there is the final bond release for the 8500 Thompson Run Road apartment 2 buildings. That was, I think, in 21 or 22 that we approved that. They are now done with construction, and Gateway has recommended a complete release of the remaining funds. And we also have the vote on the Wexford Grace LLC rezoning request that we had the public hearing on last month. So if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. Yes,
The gentleman who wants to augment his property on Bellcrest,
yes.
will he have ingress and egress from both Ridgeway or Ridgeview and Bellcrest?
So no, he the way the topography is it's the back of the lot that he's adding to his property on Ridge Avenue. Like, it's not really something that you would be trying to access from Bellcrest. And I think most of the frontage on Bellcrest in this big lot actually has 3 platted lots in it that each have a home on them. So he has no interest in trying to get to his property from Bellcrest.
The
And he
reason I
doesn't currently.
asked that question is the people that live off of that Bellcrest extension, people see on Google that they can go straight across onto the Harmony line, so they get people cutting
Oh.
through all the time. And I just didn't want to see another.
No,
problem created.
and I spoke with him before he put this lot consolidation application in. It was actually on my advice, because he wanted this garage on the property that is part of this other tax parcel that he owns. But of course you can't have an accessory structure off of the lot that, the primary structure that it's tied to. So I told him, well, why don't you just, rather than trying to get a variance or whatever, just move this property over into your other, your residence property, basically. So I mean, he intends to continue accessing all of it from Ridge Avenue.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thanks, RJ. Liaison reports, planning commission, that's me. As RJ said, it was a brief meeting. I did not attend it, but it was organizational. Meeting minutes are in your packet. Zoning hearing board, Trish.
Thank you. The August minutes are in your packet, and also another scheduling change for November. The next hearing board meeting will be November 20th because of the Thanksgiving holiday the following week. So it is a week early, if anybody cares to attend.
Thank you. Any public comment on planning and zoning committee items? Barring none, I'll hand it to Mr. Giorgetti, recreational committee.
Staff reports, Parks and Recreation coordinator report that is in your packet. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Abby will be more than happy to chat. She's been doing a phenomenal job in her first few months here. And next is Finance, Development and Promotional Committee for the Heritage and Cultural Center, which is usually handled by Mr. Hart. He's not here, but those meeting minutes are also in your packet. So next is Activities Advisory Ad Hoc Committee, Ms. Clonin.
Thank you. There are minutes in your packet for our most recent meeting. And work is well underway for Winterfest coming up in December.
Is there any public comment on Recreation Committee items?
Just remind everybody that the Shining Star Gala for the benefit of the Heritage and Cultural Center will be held November 9th. There are 10 members of the community that we're honoring for their volunteerism and their hard work. So I hope that everybody here would consider buying a ticket and attending.
At this time, we'll move on the town manager report.
Manager's reports included in your packet. Variety of, appreciate everybody's patience during my onboarding process in the last month. It's been quite a journey. Excited to be here. Few health concerns along the way slowed us down, but nothing can stop us. So a lot of activity with the with personnel inside, with discussion promotions for lieutenant positions, discussions in the Public Works Department about some foreman positions, working on a few grants, applications, current and existing, to figure out where we stand, how we can move forward with them. And importantly, starting meetings coming up in the next few weeks for our Parks Master Plan. So we're going to kick that off probably here at the first or second week in November.
The engineer's report was also in your packets. If there's any questions, they can be directed towards Kelly at Harrington. She's here if anyone has any questions.
I do. Kelly, have you looked at that wall on the back side of the ridge?
Yes, we have been down there and we have seen it, and we know there's some grading repairs that have to occur down in that area. So we went out there after the last rain event and identified it and are working with them to get that addressed.
You don't think
out
that
there.
wall needs extended, or you just think you could fix that with grading?
We would like them, yeah, we will discuss what their plan to address that's gonna be. We can talk to them about, seeing if that's gonna be an easier solution for them to extend that a little bit. Or do another alteration to provide some more stability to that area,
It
so
just
it
looks like
doesn't
that
get
wall
washed
needs
out.
to be extended about 30 feet.
Okay, yeah,
So,
appreciate it, yeah, I'll speak with them and we'll get out there and take a look at that.
because, it just creates a bad situation for the lugs and the poor guy at the bottom of the hill. He was told that he would have less water when they built Oak Ridge, and it
Mhm.
didn't turn out that way because everybody drains off the backside.
Right,
Mr. Singer had made the observation that it'd be nice if there was a swale put in back there, and I still think that might be appropriate to part of the solution to consider, at least on part of that.
on the bottom
Or
part of it.
Maybe at least bring it down and then drain it, and there's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay,
in a more-
yeah, I know, we took a look at the berm that was installed on the top and that seems to be
That's
holding
helping.
really well.
I
Yeah.
meant to say that was,
I think that's what we had.
Yes, yes,
well, the berm is stopping now, but once the berm goes away and there's houses there, that hill is much steeper than it was prior to the development.
right,
So all that water is actually filtered from both sides right to the lug property.
Mhm.
So it really has become something that we need to take a.
sure, yeah, absolutely, and I know
Makes
too,
sense.
as part of, with the occupancy permits for the homes that are gonna go up there. To make sure that any home builder that comes in and does final grading back there, we do wanna get out there and make sure that the grading is not going down that hill and instead it's going back towards the yard drains that are gonna be put in the backyard to avoid that issue.
But what do you do with the hill? I mean, unless you put a swale at the bottom, it's all gonna go towards the lugs.
Yeah, so the plan with how the report, the engineer's design is submitted to us shows with the fact that the hillside is shorter from what it was before, it's a smaller drainage area getting down to there. They were able to show us that the total runoff should be reduced down there. So we'll continue to monitor it as the grass down there gets stabilized and we provide additional reinforcement and clean that area up.
Did you ever water plants?
Yes, I have watered plants.
You know how the nozzle can go like all over? Well,
Sure.
the nozzle's been condensed to one area and it's right in that V.
Yeah, and we will make sure to, prior to project closeout, that there is no channelization occurring at that area at the interfaces of the wall to ensure that it is sheet flowed, so we don't have any future erosion problems in that area. Yeah, it's definitely something we're
counting on you.
walking. I know you are, and it's definitely, when we're out there, we walk the perimeter. We've identified concerns along the way. We're continuing to work with him. I know there is a new foreman who is going to be on the site. So I had the inspector meet with him to continue to have those conversations about how we can continue to work on that area.
You're keeping Stu there, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep. Stu and I are still out there.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're still checking on the folks downstream as well, making sure that the culvert's cleaned out. I know the last rainstorm event, it seemed that it held up well, so we'll continue to walk down there as well.
Don was out there at 1 o'clock in the morning with his flashlight.
Yeah. Good. It's impressive.
Yeah, 90 years old. It's
Mhm.
that's why he's 90.
Any other questions for Mrs. Harrington? Okay.
Thank you.
very
Thanks,
much.
Shelley.
Town attorney's report.
My report was also in the packet, and if you have any questions, we could talk offline or have an executive session.
Thanks for making the changes green.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm colorblind, so that helped me too.
Continuing on, there is no old business, which brings us to new business. The 2025 budget presentation for Franklin Park ambulance fare. Chief Dell. Well,
Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I did put a handout out for everybody. Diane actually apparently printed it. So I have a whole bunch of extras because I wasn't expecting Diane to do that for me, but I appreciate it. So in your packets, first page is really just sort of an overview of 2024. It's been a busy year for the department. One of our crowning achievements, if you will, was our national accreditation through the Commission on Accreditation of Ambulance Services, really putting us in an elite class. There's 186 ambulance services in the nation out of 18,000 or so that have achieved that accreditation. And why did we do it? We really do it for the community. We want to know our residents and counselors to know that you're getting the best service possible, right? And that is a testament for everything that we do administratively, operationally, and clinically. So that was a big deal for us. We also achieved the Mission Lifeline Gold Award by the American Heart Association, and that's for excellence in cardiac and stroke care. Something we're very proud of and something that we intend on maintaining forever. Also, sort of almost a lot of the same week was we had to obtain our licensure, renew our licensure through the state of Pennsylvania Department of Health as an advanced life support agency. So at the same week that we had the folks in from the national program, the folks ran from the state. So it made for a really interesting week. Wanting everyone to know that we're spending the money that we have been allotted wisely. We were able to replace our paramedic squad that's used by our supervisors on a daily basis to respond to calls at a cost of about $90,000. We've also added one other ambulance to the fleet. It made its first appearance to the station and then had to leave for some repairs. But it's a $400,000 vehicle, right? So our fleet now has 6 ambulances, and we're pretty proud of that. And we've also been able to make a lot of investments into the facility, right? So I hope that you, driving by, you can see that it looks like an ambulance station now, not a UPS depot or anything else, right? So really been able to clean things up a little bit. So other things there on your document, you can see our budgeted estimated revenue for 2025, 3.926 million. Expenses also being at 3.926 million. That's assuming we get the municipal contributions from all 5 municipalities. At this point, it looks like we will. Everybody seems to be in agreement with the requests that we've made of them. And those totals are on the bottom of that page. And you can see that the municipal funding, quite frankly, puts us at a break-even budget for the year. Next page, one of the things I know Jason asked me about the first time I came here. As he said, Chris, what do you do for fundraising? And can you go back many years and figure that out? Wasn't able to go back too far, but certainly was able to go back to 2021 when we had $6.9 million in grants and donations and subscription and so forth. I'm very happy to report that as of 9/30/24, we've actually almost doubled that. So we've worked very hard at all of our fundraising efforts and continue to do so, and plans to continue. In fact, meeting with a web design company today to sort of clean up and how people can reach out to us and that kind of thing. So it's been a very, very big issue for us. Also, your page 4, I believe it is just sort of a graph of how we spend our money. We really want folks to know, it's not going into prettying up stations. It's going into the operations of the ambulance service. You can see that $3 million of our expenses for the year of 3.9 million are all go into operations. That's of course the staff, that's maintaining the vehicles, that's everything that you would expect us to be putting our money into. I like to really think that we spend our money wisely, every penny of it, very, very wisely. The last page really there is just some information for you, just for informational purposes. The kind of calls that we go on a daily basis. You can see that, year to date, all the different types of calls, and an E0 call is our highest priority call at 514 calls in that category, for a total of 4,408 responses, ambulance responses. We're projected this year in McCandless to be on pace for about 5,900 responses total. You can see those numbers there in a graph, and then you can also see, primary response, all call tapes for us, right? So that includes our wheelchair van, includes the non-emergency transports, everything that we do. You can see so far year to date, we've responded to 7,162 calls, right? So a very busy department, always moving, always shaking, always have something good going on. I truly believe that every day, we're making progress, and we appreciate the support that we've gotten over the years. I'm joined this afternoon by our board chair, Marcia, whom I wanted to introduce when I got up here, initially forgot. But any questions? I mean, our ask of the municipality for this year is 110,000, which is the same contribution that you made last year.
I just want to congratulate you. And I
Thank you.
want to congratulate the ambulance authority. What a fantastic job that you've done since you've been here, chief.
Thank you.
The credibility and the integrity. But I guess more than that is the transparency.
Mhm.
It's been night and day.
Good.
And I gotta tell you, it's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
My one question, just as I wrote it down, your staffing levels, are you at adequate staffing right now? Are you full?
We have one full-time paramedic slot
Okay.
that's available. And that's only because our part-time folks, one of our part-time folks that were working like pretty much full-time hours, went back to school. So we consider ourselves for the most part to be at, maximum staffing.
You've got
We
enough
have-
people for those 6 ambulances.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, it is not uncommon, and Andrew, one of our EMTs, will tell you, it's not uncommon to see all of the ambulances in service at all times, so the 6th one, we don't have this, we haven't had to put 6 on the road at the same time just yet, but it will happen. So,
Thank you, Chief.
You've done a fantastic job.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Continuing on, we are at that point of the year where we start talking budget. So this evening, we will be doing the first half of the budget programs. This great house will have a presentation for us. In attendance.
Good evening again, council. I will have up on the screen the first budget workshop presentation. Before we get started, I do want to give just a brief overview for the public. This project starts in July each year. What we do is we disseminate the budget worksheets to town staff, department heads, who work for about a month and a half to pull together information for their budget, to submit it to the finance department and the town manager's office in order to compile the budget for the next year. We have worked with those department heads. Some of them are here tonight. Brad is here for Public Works. Our fire marshal is here for the fire department, as well as, I believe, Peebles. And then, of course, the ambulance authority is here. They're here to answer any questions you might have. We have reviewed this with council at this point, initially. We'll continue to review this throughout the next month or so. And then we will vote on it as a final budget in December. In August, we also compiled information not only from the fire departments, but from the ambulance authority, as well as the library. Those individuals have put forth information for us so that we can have all the decision tools that we need to make informed decisions for 2025. I work primarily on the revenue budget and some of the other administrative budget items, which we will discuss at the next meeting on November 11th. So to get started, the 2025 budget for this year we are going to talk public safety tonight. We're going to talk public works. We're going to talk capital. We're going to talk about the 5-year capital equipment plan, specifically 2025's piece. We have not had any significant budget additions at this point. So the document that is on the website under council's page, as well as the finance page that can be viewed by any member of McCandless, has not had any major changes to it at this time. The proposed consolidated budget for 2025 is projected to be $27 million. That includes the general fund. There is no American Rescue Plan Fund budget for 2025. Most of that money is to be appropriated by the end of 2024. The town has planned to do so. Capital projects will be at $6.5 million. Transportation district is consistent at 135. Assessment fund is at 20, and then the state aid, which is your liquid fuels money for your road program, is at about $875,000. It's about a 3% decrease, which is about $844,000 from last year. That 844 is significant because it resembles what we had in ARPA money from year to year. You can see that the general fund makes up 72% of the budget. It's our general operating fund for the town. It includes most of our salaries, all of our salaries, as well as what we need to run Monday through Friday, as well as 365 days a year. This is the breakout for the individual funds. We'll talk more about that at the end. Tonight, we're going to primarily focus on expenditures, specifically some of our bigger categories like public safety, which is 46% of that $19.8 million budget for general fund. The public works budget is about 22% of that $19 million. And then we'll also talk about transfers to other funds because that is the transfer from general fund to CIP, which is at 13%. Most of those are consistent year over year. Moving into public safety, the primary departments that make up public safety you see here on this pie chart. The police protection budget is about 75% of the overall $9.1 million public safety budget for the town. In addition, the fire protection and prevention budget is about 15%. The ambulance that you just heard from is about 2% of that budget. We will talk about code enforcement and planning and zoning at the next meeting. School crossing guards is only about 1% of that total budget. We have 31 police officers here at the town of McCandless. We have 2 administrative employees and we have 1 social worker that we have planned for either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. You can see the majority of the costs that are associated with the $6.8 million budget for police are related to personnel. In addition, we're planning on 3 replacement vehicles, some software maintenance costs, public safety and technology equipment replacements over the course of 2025, as well as replacing any retired officers. And we do anticipate at least a couple.
You know, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
And I want to make this clarified for the public because I got several phone calls saying, why do we need a social worker for the police officers? Okay. And I just want to be clear that it's not for the police officers. It's for the entire town of McCandless.
Correct. They will assist not only with the police department calls that are related to public health or mental health, but also with code enforcement and if the need arises. You can see the 4% increase over 2024 here. We do receive additional revenues to facilitate this budget. We receive about $500,000 in state aid to help fund the police pension fund. We also receive some off-duty overtime reimbursements from local agencies that use our police officers for their events. Fire protection and prevention is a combination of the town's fire marshal office as well as the 3 volunteer fire companies. You can see the contributions, grants, and subsidies portion of that budget is 60%. The majority of that goes to the to the fire departments. There is 1.5 employees here at the town that help facilitate the fire departments in their efforts for fire safety. You can see some of the information along the lines there at that almost $4 million budget. We do have a 5% increase in the contributions that we'll be giving to the to the fire companies this year. It will be at 188,120. So we will disperse that as the budget stands now, we will disperse that to the fire companies on a quarterly basis. We do receive state aid for the Volunteer Fire Relief Association. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, so there's revenue in the budget, but there's also an existing expense that is included in that 60% pie chart that you're seeing.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it called Warren Fire?
I don't know the answer to that. I apologize.
Out-of-state insurance.
Yeah, people who have out-of-state
Okay.
insurance actually pay a little bit extra in order to contribute towards our pension plans and our volunteer firemen.
Thank you.
That's a great question.
Not a country, right? Like it's
Just not.
an
Out of
estate,
state.
out of state. I don't know why they call
Yeah,
it.
I don't know
foreign,
why
but
that-
Yeah. I was
Anyway,
thinking
that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
As part of their disbursements, they also do refund to the sinking fund, which we use to purchase apparatus. And we forecast that to be roughly an $80,000 repayment between the 3 companies next year. We just heard from the ambulance authority. We do have the $110,000 municipal contribution in this year's budget that they requested as part of that previous presentation. And you can see those increases there. They do reimburse the town for fuel and vehicle repairs. So there are some small items in the revenue budget related to that. The school crossing guards, we receive a 50% reimbursement from the North Allegheny School District for the costs there. We have 4 full-time crossing guards plus 1 alternate. We're fully staffed right now, which is the first time in a number of years that I've been here. But you can see this is a small budget that is subsidized by the school district for those costs. Is there any questions about public safety before we jump into public works? Great.
Tricia,
Yes,
where
sir.
are we with the sinking fund?
The sinking fund is at about $1.2 million. It is projected through 2032. The fire companies have provided me as part of this year's budget with some estimates of when they anticipate pulling from it. There is some concern about their ability to contribute their 50% towards that equipment purchase. I believe as long as we continue to follow the resolution that the town will be fine in their portion. However, there is concerns about the rising costs of the apparatus for the fire companies with their budgets.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Just, and just because I feel like some residents may want to know more about
Just
this,
thinking.
the fact that the North Allegheny School District does not provide us funding back for school resource officers anymore.
Correct.
Have you seen that to be a big impact, or how are we adjusting for that?
So that paid for 2 officers 75% of their wages, so about $220,000, including benefits. So yes, the town did see a reduction in revenues of about 200 grand related to that. In addition to that, we've also seen a reduction in the request for off-duty officers for things like football games, et cetera. So we did take that into consideration. We also have stopped billing for per capita because that was something that was dissolved as part of the school district's budget for the current year. And so that's affected the tax office. And you'll hear me talk a little bit about that next time. But yes, we did make that adjustment. So those 2 officers are now fully funded by the town. Great. So moving on to Public Works. Public Works in total will be $4.3 million, almost $4.4 million for 2025. The majority of the money that is utilized for salaries is covered under the Public Works Administration budget. That's about 17 of our laborers and 5 of our administrative staff. We also cover 2 of our traffic control device employees under that budget and 3 of our mechanics under the repairs of vehicles and machinery. So you can see between those 3 that include labor, it's roughly 70%. In addition to that, we have snow and ice control, which is mostly salt, I'm not gonna lie, and a little bit of extra money for labor costs for overtime. The other ones are smaller in need. They are for more routine maintenance costs for those areas. Most of the other departments are also seen within the capital projects fund, and you see the larger budget items there, specifically maintenance and repairs of roads and bridges and storm sewers and drains. Recycling includes the leaf collection program as well as the glass recycling here at the town. We work with the North Hills COG in those efforts. You can see most of it is other services and charges and supplies. They deal with the mulching that brings back those composted leaves to the town in the spring. We do receive some funding from the state in this regard. We have a recycling grant that we take revenue in about $70,000 a year in that revenue budget. As I mentioned, the majority of our public works salaries are seen within 430, which is Public Works Administration. We're at about $2.3 million. 94% of that is personnel services. You'll see not only in this budget, but also in the police budget that these terms are dictated by the collective bargaining agreements. You can see that has a 4% increase. There's a 3% increase in the collective bargaining agreement. And then there's some additional costs associated with health insurance, et cetera. Townwide, for police and for administration, we're seeing about a 2% increase. I will not have the Teamsters increase until further into the spring, so I have to do an estimate based on prior years here. Snow and ice control, as I mentioned, the town maintains 110 miles of town roads, 20 miles of state-owned roads, with the exception of Route 19 and McKnight Road. We have consistently budgeted for this, as in prior years. We monitor about 25 years of salt usage as well as overtime shifts, et cetera. And we take an average and continue to budget that from year to year. We have had some light years most recently, but that's not what I'm hearing so far. So Jason, start crossing your fingers. We really haven't seen an increase in this budget over year. Traffic control devices. As I mentioned, this covers 2 employees. The town has 29 signalized intersections in the town. They do moderate troubleshooting and repair of the traffic signal controllers, over 250 signal heads. The town contracts for streetlight service at the intersection of Thompson Run Road. We take in a small amount of money, about $400 a year for that item, but you can see the majority of this budget is personnel services as well as some miscellaneous supplies. A little bit of a 1% increase. We had a large number of equipment purchases in 2024, so some of those are not recurring in 25. Storm sewers and drains. This is more maintenance, an inspection of the facilities that the public works staff does for catch basins and short stretches of pipe repair. The larger projects, as I mentioned, are seen in capital projects. This is where our mechanics live in the budget. Again, you can see the percentages there on the pie chart. Again, they had a equipment purchase in 24, which is why you see the reduction in their budget year over year. Maintenance and repair of roads and bridges. This is a very small budget. It's more for potholes than it is for the repaving of our roads. And then stormwater management and flood control, we do pack some MS4 costs into this department in the general fund. It covers a lot of our gateway costs for inspections, et cetera. But again, you'll see other capital projects in CIP. I'm gonna give that a minute. Do we have any questions on Public Works before I move into CIP? Thank Brad again for coming. If you have any questions, he's also here to help with any CIP questions you might have. Okay, so moving on to the Capital Improvement Program Fund. To start off, we have a couple different revenue sources for capital improvement programs. Mostly grant revenue in 2025 is estimated about $950,000. That'll include some carryover for the Arley grant, as well as some of the Green Light Go money. We also have some money for $50,000 for license plate readers that we received from the state, thanks to our representatives. The majority of revenue sources for capital projects include the transfer from the general fund. There is $10 million transferred from general fund revenues over the course from 2025 through 2029. That number becomes important as we get further into the process. Other items are pretty consistent. And as I mentioned, the liquid fuels money comes in from state highway aid to subsidize our road program. The first section that we have portioned off for CIP includes things like sidewalks and town hall improvements. You can see the monies that we have planned for 2025, as well as some of the projections that we've put in for the next 4 years. We do a 5-year CIP budget every year. We have a plan for sidewalks out at North Meadows that has a grant attached to it, as well as some of the early work on the town hall improvements for the windows. So that money we should see in 2024. The grant for the North Meadows sidewalk was about $142,000. Well, it's going to be about 50%. I believe it wasn't quite 50%, but I would have to check on that and get back to you.
Just wondering if there was a miss on it.
I believe so, but I would have to verify that. The windows and other improvements to town hall will be to focus on improving energy efficiency and safety. We are planning to replace the generator and the electrical work here on this side of the building, as well as some flooring and other items projected into 27 and 28. The big classification for CIP is under Public Works. You can see the equipment purchases that we have there at the beginning of the list. We have had a supply chain delay for our 10-ton dump trucks. So you'll see 4 there right off the bat. We're hoping that those are going to come in 2025. In addition, we'll be purchasing a 4th leaf truck. And then replacing the 3 leaf trucks we have in the coming 3 years to help expand our program and stop using some of the smaller attachments that we have for that program. And then we also have a replacement of one of the mechanics trucks to help with the efficiency of the department. The snow and plow hitch and spreaders that go with the trucks are listed there. The license plate readers that I mentioned, we plan for multiple intersections in 25. We plan for additions in 26 as well in 27. The IT contractor feels that this is satisfactory enough to complete that project. As I mentioned, the Arley program and the Green Light Go, you see Green Light Go goes into 26. And then the engineering costs associated with some future grants that we hope to obtain for both of those programs. We have stormwater drainage improvements under storm sewers and drains. A lot of that is in-house work. Brad and his crew handle a lot of the pre-work prior to the road program, as well as some larger pipelining programs that need to be accomplished. We have the maintenance and repairs of town roads budgeted at $1.5 million over the next 5 years. And then we have some money set aside for the stormwater detention facility cleanups in various locations over the next 5 years. A little bit more information that we just talked about with some pretty pictures. As well as the stormwater drains and stormwater drainage improvements. This is a picture, I believe, of Blazer Culvert that was completed in 2024. As we talked about, we plan to have the repairs of roads budgeted at $1.5 million over the next 5 years. We do not have an MS4 project programmed yet for next year. The plan is to wait until we receive updated specifications from DEP. Parks and Rec, we're getting close, y'all. Parks and Rec, the budget, as you see there, the big item that you want to take note of is the Master Park and Trail Feasibility Plan. We received a grant of about $99,000 from GTRP. And John can probably tell you what that stands for. That it's one of the grants that we received to finish the Master Park and Trail Feasibility Plan. Once we complete that plan, it will help us generate future projects for parks through that study. This is a compilation slide, just really talks about some of the equipment purchases and vehicle purchases that are included within the budget. You see the general fund. We have the that we'll talk a little bit about next week. We have replacements for administrative vehicles, as well as the 3 police replacements. We have some monitoring signs as well as tasers. We're looking at a 5-year capital lease for the replacement of 30 tasers for the full staff. There's a fire station signal at Perry Highway that'll be done by our traffic signal group. We're buying a power broom for the sidewalks, for the snow removal, and then the upfitting and in-car video cameras that we plan to replace for the police department. Again, this is your consolidated budget. Some conversations that we can have right off the bat. There are contributions from prior year fund balance from the general fund to help balance that budget and to make that transfer to CIP. And then we are using a portion of the CIP funds fund balance to fund some of the projects with it. If you're back here, you can see we're going from the $3.2 million budget to the $1.3 million. Another item I want to make you aware of is I mentioned this $2.5 million from 2025 through this $1.5 million in 2029 makes up about $10 million. When you look at the consolidated budget, that comes off this fund balance here at 15 million. In addition to that, you have our emergency reserve. You have our commitments to the police department for other post-employment benefits. And you have some other items that you have restricted for accounting purposes. At the end of the day, it's about an equal number. But again, it is 5 years out. And so that's the conversation for this year's public safety and public works and CIP budget. The next steps in our process are on November 11th, we'll review revenues and the programs you see there, as well as the special revenue funds and their associated transfers. On November 25th, we will have a public hearing on the 2025 budget. That is the time for the public to make their comment. We'll give a brief overview of what we've done in these last 2 public workshops. And then on December 9th, at the council meeting, we will review the public hearing notes, as well as have salary reviews and executive session, and then the approval of the 2025 budget. Are there any questions? I went through that really fast.
Thank you very much for that, Tricia. And just again to reiterate, this is all online. It's on our website. Anyone in the crowd, anybody watching the video, you can go online to our website, download that and review it.
Excellent job.
Okay, continuing on, the item up here is the rezoning, more commonly known as the Wexford House parcel, up there. So, we had a public hearing on this last meeting. The planning commission had a vote to reject this. So is there a motion, Mr. Casey?
Like to make a motion to reject the ordinance of the town council of the town of McCandless, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, amending part 13 planning and zoning code of the codified ordinances and zoning district map of the town of McCandless to rezone property located on Old Perry Highway, identified as Allegheny County Block Lot 1071-P-72 to the special district SD to moderate density neighborhood RM district.
Second.
There's been a motion to reject, a second by Mr. Wall. Is there any further discussion on this? Pending no further discussion, all those in favor of rejecting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries as a rejection. Next item up is a release of a bond. These are the apartments over off Thompson Run Road. We've received a letter from our town engineer stating that all has been good to go. So the final bond releases this request. Is there a motion out there?
I'll make a motion. Motion to approve the release of the 8500 Thompson Run Road Apartments performance bond in the amount of $32,367.49. All technical comments and punch list requirements have been satisfied per the town engineer's letter dated October 11, 2024. This will be the final bond release for this project.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Wall. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, I will note that there was an executive session held before the meeting regarding the police lieutenant promotion. At this time, we will be taking no action on this item. So at this time, are there any public non-agenda comments? Please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Lou Flotis. I reside at 1991 Wallace Road. I am also the president of the Association for the People's District Volunteer Fire Company. Our deputy chief and assistant chief are called away for a fire call. In their place, I will be speaking on their behalf of mine also. We're going to ask if the city can proportionally cover our fuel cost in totality. I know we've had some other discussions in regards to the sinking fund, insurance, long-term capital vehicle expenditure purchases. But we need your help. In December of 2023, December 25th, we had 827 calls. 2 weeks ago, People's District Volunteer Fire Company answered 827 fire calls. 2 weeks ago, that's October the 14th. We still have many days ahead of us. We as a volunteer fire company have approximately 49 members who provide service to this community as firefighters, paramedics, and administrative staff such as myself, since I am physically unable to be a firefighter anymore. Yet, when we come to the council and ask for increases in funding, and we greatly appreciate the 5% increase that the town is looking at for 2025, we also believe, or I believe, I will speak on myself, I believe there is greater potential for greater support to occur for the fire department. In discussions, we've been told that police contract negotiations are underway. City grounds contracts are in negotiation. Ambulance funding is being provided. Library funding is being provided, and I don't dispute any of that. I don't want any of your jobs because I can't imagine the pressure and the challenge you must be under to provide the funding and balance all that out based upon needs. But I believe that we are at a disadvantage because we are a volunteer fire department. And as such, we kind of get, I believe, pushed to the side. I wish that wasn't the case, but I believe that it is. If we were a paid department, and I expressed this the other day, if there was a 4-member fully paid department that would cost the taxpayers, of which I am one of, $2 million. That's just 4 members. Is not going to cover 24/7. There has to be a solution somewhere that we can come up with to fund us more than we are today. We talked about the sinking fund. When we make our next vehicle purchase in 2033, we are required to pay 50% of that at a 1 million plus just to buy that vehicle. It'll cost us another $225,000 to $500,000 to outfit that vehicle. Just for the purchase itself, 50% of that will wipe out our investment account. That took us years to fund. In the same respect, we've been told we have too much money set aside to cover those vehicles. In my eyes, we don't have enough. When we have to pay back those vehicles, our budget is proportionally reduced by those payments. So we go from $180,000 budget to $140,000 budget. Again, we're volunteers, so it's okay. It's not okay in my eyes. The town can do better. The residents deserve better. The fire departments deserve better. Again, I thank you for all that you have done, all that you give us. But I'm asking for more. Somehow there has to be a better solution. I don't know what it is. I've expressed what my thought is. I don't want to bring that up now. But there has to be a better solution out there for us to fund the fire departments more than we are as volunteers. 2 last questions. Is the town required to provide a police department? I don't need an answer. Is the town required to provide fire department coverage? I'll leave those questions with you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for all that you have done for the fire department in the years past, in the years present, and today. I thank you for everything you've dealt with. It's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Are there any other public non-agenda comments?
New Hart Boulevard. Like to thank his council for your vote that turned on and that project over in the woods up in New Hart Boulevard and the surrounding areas. And again, thanks again, because I was going to bring up the one point about your garden hose and the sprinkler system. I think that's the problem we'd have at the bottom of Old Perry Highway, New Hart Boulevard, Roniman Road, Pine Creek. That's where you're gonna have your problems, so. And there's other people that wouldn't have liked being rerouted past the township building up over the hill just to avoid this if there ever was a big flood down here. So thank you guys and ladies very much for your due diligence in that too. Thanks again.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.